Hi, just Bob. I'm back. Number 3. Whoopee! Today we're going to talk about some artwork stuff. So that's a little different than what I've been on. But, and the first thing I wanted to touch on was a painting that I did, uh, actually came out of a dream. I was having a dream and I didn't wake up, but I realized I was having a dream. So that realization, it was like I was awake, but I hadn't opened my eyes, and the dream was playing out in front of me. And so I sat up in bed and I just watched it play out. And the painting that came out of it was this, and I call it The Angels. And there were some weird things about it because, like I said, it came in a dream, but then after about, oh gosh, I don't know how much time elapsed, probably 10, 15 minutes, it seemed like. I sat there, I opened my eyes, and the dream continued to play out in front of me. And it was just this blackness it started out with, but there was a silhouette of something round, a circular center to what I was looking at. And then it began to brighten up around the edges. It almost looked like a solar eclipse with the moon between us and the sun. And it was a corona type thing. And I knew that the center was actually the earth. And so this whiteness and brighter and brighter and brighter. And it started reminding me of that light I saw in my NDE. And it kept growing and then started to encompass the circle and came back all the way around it. But from my point of view, it was engulfing the whole thing and bringing it down to that opening. And finally, that whole opening just closed up, and the whole planet was white. And it was moving, it was dynamic. And when I was watching it, I could tell that this wasn't just light, it was beings with wings like angels. And it had encircled the whole earth and was crying. That it was crying, it was sobbing, throbbing and sobbing, and it just exuded all this emotional feeling to it, that there was something wrong, something was happening, and it was affecting the energy of everything. And when I finally, the dream ended and I got up, and when I got up, I went out, made my coffee, and like I usually do, turned the TV on. And the news that was breaking that morning was that Russia had just invaded Ukraine. And it was a brutal attack. And I had watched that attack happen in 2011. I think it was somewhere back, anyway, back at that time. And Russia was taking back the Crimea and some of the other areas. And it just annoyed me to no end that we sat here and watched it happen. And nobody would lift a finger to help Ukraine. But this was right after the Soviet Union had collapsed. And so everybody here seemed to associate Ukraine with being Russian. And so they really didn't care, what happened over there. And from that, I got up and I painted this picture. So that picture was, for me, a pivotal moment, saying that energy has form, and my job is to take that form and translate it into something that other people can see. Even though it was my dream, it's on there now. So anyway, that was that picture. But I'd started back oh gosh, probably I think 2018 maybe, I think it was. I started doing making coloring books, and I have them up on Amazon. But it's I'm redoing that whole coloring book thing because I don't like the idea of the book. I kind of want it to be more like a folder where you can, pick 5 or 10 pages, and I'll put them in a folder and send them out. But I want it to be on better paper, and I want it to be on a better size, because the whole thing is that when they come out of the coloring book, I take a photograph and then I will make a line drawing out of it. Basically, it's a black and white that has all the shapes and shading. So, sort of like this. And with colored pencils now, you can go back and the shading, the light and dark part, is all done so that now you don't have to worry about, I can't draw a straight line. Well, you don't have to. There's no straight lines in nature anyway. But now all the lines have been drawn. And people can just pick up a pack of colored pencils or whatever they want and begin to color them. So I made the coloring books, and then I took the pages and I started coloring them and making wall art out of it, any kind of art. So this is one I took. This was a photograph of my dog Cricket when we were in the motorhome. So I've started this one coloring it. And you can see that the shadowing and stuff, you don't have to worry about it. You just color the colors that you want and do the shading in ways you want. And you can learn how light and objects work together. And once you figure out how shading and all that works, you can now go and work without having to have the painting pre-drawn. You'll get to that point where you can now just envision it, because every painting that I do starts out black and white, because just like living in life, there is nothing out there until we have light, because once the light hits an object, it gives it form. It also gives it warmth, because the dark is cold. So you start to get a feel when you go out into the woods or whatever, and you want to paint a picture or make just a sketch, whatever. You're going to start feeling that subject that you're trying to put down on paper or canvas. And it becomes easier and easier the more you start to get into, for lack of a better word, the spirituality of a tree or a rock or anything else. It has energy. And as you grow in your artwork, you start to take on the ability of feeling that energy that you're trying to create on paper. So now you'll get to a point where you no longer have to draw those lines, because the image is already on the paper. You just have to put it in view by giving it light. So if you think of it, you're coloring not with color, but with light. It's all dependent on light. And the fact that I see this as like one of these are what I'm working on right now, is I do these small cards, 3.5 by 2.5, and I can put a painting on these cards, and then on the back I sign it, and this is an original piece of art. But it starts out like this. So these little cards are all paintings I've already done for the coloring book. So now I reproduced the drawing on here. I just reduced down the page, print it onto paper, put the paper on the card, and now I paint the colors, paint the light, paint the dark, and that contrast is what gives it a dramatic feel. So I've got the thing I'm working on right now is a collection. I've got a dozen of these here that I'm getting ready to put up on eBay. So they're all basically beach and lighthouse scenes. They're all the pictures that were in my coloring book, and I've just redone them now in a new format. So and then like a lighthouse, and I'll be putting these up on, like I said, on eBay. I've been doing auctions, but now I've got some people interested in it, so I'm taking the auction back off, I think, and I'm going to do it more of just like they're here and you can buy them, and I'm doing $15 a piece is where I'm heading. I started them out at 99 cents on the auction, and they started selling. So then I have increased the price up, and currently it's at $5. And then when that group starts selling out, this batch that I put up will be $10. Eventually settling at 15 where I want to be. And so you can go see them there, but if you're seeing them here, I'm trying to figure out a way here that you can just do me directly and Venmo me your email, and I will then send you an order. Anyway, oops. Get a lot of glare on these. I've got them all. I just got done lacquering and these. They're still a little bit sticky. So anyway, that is those little things. But the lesson that I am trying to teach a lot of people is that you don't have to be a skilled draftsman or sketch artist. You can take a photograph, and in this day and age on your phone, you can turn it into a black and white photo. And then maybe lighten it up a little bit so it's not all too dark, and then print it on a piece of paper, and now you've got a coloring book page, basically, and color it however you want. It's your world. That is the thing. We're not locked into staying in the lines, and you really can get a feel for how light works by doing this, because you've already got the form. Now you just have to put in the shadows and highlights, and you've got a photograph to work off of, so you know where to put it. And repetition is education, so eventually you'll know how the shadows work, and you establish where the light's coming from, and from then on it's your world. You get to create it, and it's really interesting to me anyway. So this is kind of what I do. So anyway, I just thought I'd give you a peek at that, and not sure what the next one's going to be. Anyway, have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye.